Hello and welcome. I'm Akhilesh Prasad, and today I will explain about the portfolio theory, how you can construct portfolio of two risky assets. In beginning, it was this theory was given by the Markowitz, but I'll not go into the historical point. I will directly jump into the relevant things what we need while constructing the portfolio. Yeah, so today focus is the constructing the portfolio of two risky assets. Two risky assets might be two sub-risky portfolio as well, and anyway we'll have a risk-free asset. Suppose a portfolio of two assets is generally characterized by the value invested in each asset. Yeah, so you have invested money on two assets. On one asset, the you invested V1 and other V2. Yeah, because you have money, you want to invest it, but you don't know how much to invest, how much to invest on the assets. So given two assets, let we will analyze how much we can invest in one asset, how much in the other asset to minimize our risk and maximize the return. So the money invested on each asset is V1 and V2. So this is the sum of the equation. Total money invested is V1 plus V2, and the ratio on invested in asset is W1 and W2. This is called bait of money invested in asset 1 and asset 2, and the sum of the bait is obviously equal to 1. Yeah, the return on the portfolio is the expected return. When we calculate the expected return on the portfolio, we'll consider the expected return on the asset, expected and what is going to achieve over a certain horizon. Okay, so the formula for any kind of return on the portfolio is R1 W1 plus R2 W2. R1 and R2 is the return of individual assets. Okay, furthermore, furthermore, the same formula can be written in compact form using summation. Okay, the variance, the variance of the portfolio considering two assets, asset 1 and asset 2, two asset I have, and want to construct a portfolio. One asset, on the one asset we have W1 invested on first asset, the W1 proportion and W2, and the respective variance of individual asset is W1 square and W2 square, and the covariance between the asset is W1 W2, and this is the formula for computing the variance. This is the variance, and sigma p is the standard deviation of the portfolio. So this is a formula, and we will see how to derive this formula right now. Okay, so let's consider up two assets, consisting two assets. So generally, when we have the realized, we don't use anything. When we have expectation, we use this. But here is that the expectation in the financial one, when you need to compute the expected value, generally compute the mean of the data. So for given data, you need to compute the return on the portfolio in this fashion. The expected return on the portfolio is the W1 into expected return on the first asset plus W2 into expected return on the second asset. Similarly, the variance, this is a standard formula for the variance. When you need to compute the variance of any asset, the expected value of the return minus expected value of the return whole square. This is a standard formula for computing variance. So we will use this formula and we'll find out the variance of the portfolio. Okay. So here we know the RP in this fashion, and this is the expected return on the portfolio. Okay. So let's arrange W1 term for the first asset, takes arrange it to one place, and for the second asset arrange it to second place, and take it out W1. This is simple algebra, one can do it very easily. Take it out W1 and here W2. Okay. And furthermore, you can deduce it, can square it. Is a square. So you square it. So just like a plus b whole square, the square of this and then a square of this is 2ab is this much. Okay. And here now we took the expectation. Okay. So W1 is the constant. So W1 will come out this way, and the expected value of a square of this. Similarly, the expected value of a square of this, and W1, W2 is take it out because this is the constant. This is not random variable over here. And this is the expected value of this particular quantity R1 minus ER1 into R2 minus ER2. This is the standard formula for the variance. Okay. This is the standard formula for the variance. So let's arrange it. This, sorry, this is standard formula for the covariance. Covariance. And this is the variance of the first asset. This is the variance of the second asset. Okay. So similarly, W1 square sigma 1 square, W2 square sigma 2 square, and 2 W1 W2 sigma 1 2. Okay. And you can write whichever notation you want. Okay. Here the all the calculation which we did for the two assets, just like a notation format, you can also do into the matrix format. Okay. So suppose the bait what we have is is sorry, the bait what we have, we can arrange in this fashion. It should be in the vertical, in the column format. So this is the W, and this is the covariance matrix. This is the W, this is the covariance matrix. Covariance matrix is denoted as sigma over here, and this is the W transpose. Okay. And when you multiply this matrix, will be the same thing as we derived previously. For the two assets, it is okay, you can denote in any format. But when we have more than two assets, suppose 5, 10, 15, we need to strict with the matrix format. So the matrix format is not consideration in this lecture. And when you have suppose three assets, you can have this formula. And similarly, when you have n assets, this one, imagine for n assets, how is this? This is very complicated. And that's why we need to represent when we have more than two assets in matrix format, because that would be very easy to handle. Okay, and here you have description of the notation. Sigma is the standard deviation of return weight of the individual assets covariance, and the covariance can be decomposed into rho is the correlation between assets, okay, and the sigma 1 sigma 2 the multiplication of the individual standard deviation the assets. Okay, let's move ahead. The standard deviation of the portfolio is less than, yeah, so here what we are telling, the standard deviation of the portfolio is less than the sum of the standard deviation of the individual assets, and that's why we have the diversification, and that diversification comes from the correlation. Okay, the reduction in a standard deviation of portfolio is much higher when relation between asset is much negative. I mean, this is going to be negative or approaches towards -1. Then only the diversification is higher considering this formula. Here we already seen, considering this formula, some more up. Yeah, this one. Okay, so higher the correlation, sorry, the lesser the correlation, the more diversification. So while constructing the portfolio, so and we'll put the asset in the basket, we need to keep in mind that the correlation among the asset is low. If negative, very good, otherwise low correlation. And we'll see here relationship between the correlation, relationship between the correlation coefficient and portfolio variance. So this is the standard formula we have. Suppose the correlation between asset is 1. Correlation between asset is 1. It means both assets are moving together, whether going up or down or some other direction. So moving together. When this correlation, this term becomes 1, then usually it's become a plus b a square, become this form fashion, and a square goes out. A plus b is like this way, sigma 1 w1 plus sigma 2 w2. Okay, when the correlation is 0, when this term is 0. Okay, when this term is 0, this vanished, and this is equal to this something like a parabolic. So generally in the portfolio we have something like a parabolic shape. And when the correlation is -1, this is the other extreme. This is the one extreme, and this is the another extreme point. When we have -1, this term is -1, so a minus b ka b a square. When we remove the a square both the side, because we'll have this sigma p square is equal to w1 sigma 1 minus w2 na square. Okay, when we remove this, when we remove this square, because there is minus inside, we need to take mod. So is the mod or absolute value this. So we have plus minus both the sign. Draw. Okay. So both the extreme point we have seen, the sigma p, the asset, depending upon the correlation between the asset, the sigma p could be in this range. Okay, because we have considered the two extreme point of the correlation. So just now you can draw this in the line. So the sigma is equal to, when the correlation between asset is 1, something like a straight line between, a straight line relationship between a standard variation, a standard deviation of the portfolio, and the weight of the asset. See the linear relationship when sigma is 1. When sigma is minus 1, because we have the mode and we have the plus 1 and minus 1, we get the two to a straight line, and in between we have a parabolic shape, something like a parabolic shape. Okay. When when we have, when when we have the correlation is minus 1, we get this red line. You can imagine that for a particular portfolio with certain combination of individual risky assets, one can get the risk free portfolio. I mean, sigma p is 0 when you combine in such a fashion that w1 plus w2 equal to 1. You can get one portfolio which have risk is 0, considering both the assets are perfectly negatively correlated. So you can create a risk free asset considering two assets with perfectly negatively correlated, that you put is equal to 0. What 0? It is the w1 sigma 1 plus, not minus, minus w2 sigma 2 equal to 0. When you put this equal to 0, you can find w1 w2. So how much, when you find, when you have two assets perfectly negatively correlated, you can put w1 and w2 and create a risk free portfolio. Diversification. Yeah, this is the reason we are creating portfolio to make diversification. As number of assets we represent in here approaches very large, in the portfolio we can keep on adding asset and keep on diversifying. The contribution of the variance term to the variance of the portfolio return approaches to 0. I mean, contribution of the variance from individual assets approaches to 0, while that of the covariance term goes to the average variance. We'll see how it is. So the idea is that when we have more number of assets, the variance of the individual assets almost does not contribute to the portfolio risk. What contributes? Who contributes? The covariance term. The covariance term contributes to variance of the asset. Okay. Therefore, for well-diversified portfolio, variance of each asset contributes little to the risk of portfolio. Risk of portfolio. Whereas covariance among assets dominates portfolio risk. So when we have more number of assets, mainly the covariance among the assets contribute most to the portfolio risk. And we'll see over here. Let's start from this standard formula, and this is the decomposition of covariance into correlation. Let's take n assets, and each assets have equal weight When we have equal weight, each have weight 1 upon n, and also suppose have equal variance for simplicity, then you can see the square term. This is the variance term. For two assets have two term. For n asset will have n term. That's why you have n into w square sigma square. Okay, and this comes from this term. To understand this term, in the matrix format, generally write like this. Suppose have three assets or n assets. This would be the variance term. Okay, the big circle is the variance term, and the small circle is the covariance term. The variance terms comes on the diagonal. So for three asset we have 3. For n asset we'll have n. So n into w square sigma square. And the rest are covariance. And the rest are covariance. Suppose these have n. Total n into n is the n square term. Out of that, the n is the variance term. So the n square minus n, n square minus n is the n square minus n is the covariance term. And according to this formula, we just have the half one, the 2 into this. Generally, have when we take n outside, n into n minus 1. So let's simplify it further. We'll put w is equal to 1 upon n. So this term becomes 1 upon n sigma square. And here also we'll put w is equal to 1 upon n and simplify further. We have in this fashion. When n goes to infinity, when we have large number of assets, the 1 upon n goes to 0. So this term vanishes, and also this one vanishes, just one left. Okay, so this is just a variance or rho sigma 1 sigma 2. Okay, so when we have large number of assets, the variance term contributes most to the portfolio risk. So, and that's why the correlation between assets is most important while constructing the portfolio. This is not a standard thing, just like it's a hard and fast. This is just a general practice to know the name in this particular fashion. This is not a standard. Let's just skip it. Um. Now, okay, systematic risk and non-systematic risk. Yeah, there are two types of risk. One is the systematic risk and then the non-systematic risk. Non-systematic risk is also called the idiosyncratic risk. Okay, the systematic risk is the common, is involved to the all the assets. This is the global risk. One cannot avoid or be away from the systematic risk. But non-systematic risk can be diversified, means you can reduce or eliminate. The portfolio what we are constructing, the idea is to diversify the risk. Which risk is the non-systematic risk, and this is the specific to the particular assets. The systematic risk that are common to many assets are non-diversifiable, whereas non-systematic risk that are specific to individual assets are diversified. Okay, consequence of this composition of risk, forming portfolio can eliminate non-systematic risk. You can you can have almost zero. non-systematic risk when you have 10 or 15 assets approximately. Investors hold diversified portfolio instead of single assets. Okay. Investors care only about portfolio risk, and portfolio risk is mainly of systematic risk. Yeah, if systematic risk is high, then the investor ask for the higher return to compensate the risk. Return on the assets compensate only for the systematic risk. When systematic risk is high, investor will demand for higher return. Okay, so let's, without diversification, we have this much risk. Okay, and when we diversify, when keep on adding the assets, the risk, the total risk will come down. But the systematic risk is common to every asset, which will not come down. Okay, so risk eliminated by diversification, this is the risk eliminated by diversification. Okay, you cannot diversify the systematic risk. So when we construct the portfolio, we have the two approach. One way to maximize the return, or the other ways to minimize the risk. Okay, to choose a portfolio, we can apply two complementary methods. One, minimize risk for a given expected return, and you can write in this particular fashion in mathematics: minimize the risk subject to have given this constant. So when we have more than two assets and construct the portfolio, we use the Lagrangian method where we minimize the variance. But here in the two assets, we are having using the formula. And when, and the other way is to maximize expected return for given risk. Okay, so here we have this constant and we maximize this. The idea is that this is the portfolio we have. Okay, for given risk, we, for the given risk, here is the risk, here is the return of the portfolio. For the given risk, we maximize the expected return. This is the expected return. Okay, for the given risk, for the risk is given, so we not choose from here, we have to choose from here, and that's why we have to maximize the return, expected return, and the for given return will minimize the minimize the risk. So either way you can choose, but for simplicity of the two for formulation, the first one is the minimization of the risk subject to what constant you have given is the expected return, and the weight is the most intuitive and easiest way to work out when you deal with the other way. And here also we will minimize the risk. In the subsequent slide we will see how we are going to minimize the risk to construct the portfolio. For the two assets, you can use the calculus. When we have more than two assets, we use the Lagrangian method. So here we will use calculus because we have just two assets. And the mean variance frontier portfolio, for a given expected return, the portfolio that minimize Risk measured by itna by standard deviation is the mean. This is the general practice. Okay. The locus of all the frontier portfolio is the mean variance plane. In the mean variance plane is called the portfolio frontier. And when we have large number of assets and minimize the risk given given the expected return, you will get the locus of all the portfolio frontier. That is the that is called the mean variance frontier portfolio. And something like that you can achieve when you have many assets. Okay, many assets, and the minimize the risk, you will get this kind of portfolio. The portfolio frontier of two assets. So in this discussion we have just two assets. Okay, when we have two assets, you can construct the portfolio, we will get in this fashion. And given the choice, you can have a long and short position as well, but the risk will increase. When you have a short position on this asset, the portfolio will go on the other side, something like that. When you have a long and short position, it will go in this direction and in this direction. So it is better to sorting the lowest risk, this one. Okay, now here we will start computing portfolio, constructing portfolio, and we'll use calculus. So we'll calculate the global minimum variance portfolio. We have the we constructed the portfolio variance, and on that portfolio frontier, there are so many combination. So idea is to have global minimum variance. So this particular at this particular location, we'll get the minimum variance. This is the minimum variance. The minimum, while we try to minimize, we use calculus and put second derivative 0. So we'll start from this formula, and you already have this w1 plus w2 is equal to 0, and you can have w1 w2 is equal to 1 minus w1, and you can differentiate with respect to w1. You can get this. Very simple calculus. And to maximize, so to minimize this, either maximize or minimize, you put first derivative with 0 and check the second derivative positive or negative according to minimization and maximization. Okay, so from this formula we will differentiate with respect to w1. So you can differentiate 2w sigma square p, 2 sigma p del sigma p upon del sigma 1. Okay, similarly you can differentiate this term, and this term, and you get this much. Differentiating with respect to w1 and w2 is also variable, but we have this equation, and sigma 1 sigma 2 is constant because we already given it. So when we differentiate, we'll get this one. Furthermore, we'll put this is equal to 0, so the left term is come 0, and here 2 sigma 1 2 w1 sigma 1 square, and w2 is equal to 1 minus w1, and del w1 upon del w2 upon del w1 is equal to minus 1, and this is sigma 2 square, and 2 into, you can similarly put del w2 upon del w1 equal to minus 1, and finally you can deduce further. When you deduce it further, okay, we can have this. When we deduce further, we get this one. This is very simple algebra. Okay, and here we'll put w1 together. Here we had w1, here we had w1, and here we have w1. We'll put together, and for others, other than the w1 minus 1 here and this one, these two will put on the other side. Okay, and then the w1 is equal to this. Similarly, you can have w2. Okay, and when we further differentiate again with respect to w2 and put put this one, you will get this is greater than 0 for sigma p to be minimum. This is simple calculation. So sorry, simple calculus where people study minimization and maximization. Okay, this is some of the description of the notation. The correlation between two assets crucially affect the shape of the frontier portfolio. This is keep on coming. Yeah, so here in the previously we saw in terms of weight, and the same thing can be also draw with respect to return, and risk. So this is the one when we have the correlation highly correlated. This is a 1 and this is minus 1, and in between is the parabolic shape. Okay, when one asset is the risk free asset, when we have one asset is the risk free asset, then the portfolio frontier become a straight line. Why? Because from this formula is equal to w1 square sigma 1 square w2 square sigma 2 square plus 2 w1 sigma 1 w1 w2 sigma 1 sigma 2, and then the correlation. Okay, when the one in the risk free asset, then this term risk free asset has no standard deviation, it becomes 0. This is the assumption, and the correlation with the other asset is also 0. Then we have only this term. Then the sigma p is equal to w1 sigma 1, and we already know from the return rp is equal to w1 r1 plus w2 r2. Okay, we have linear relationship between w1 and this, and similarly we will have linear relationship between this and this always. We can put w1 is equal to here. Okay, you can eliminate w because we already have w. Okay, and the one is the w1 plus w2 is equal to 1. So you can eliminate this w and put this, you will get the linear relationship between return on the portfolio and the standard deviation of the portfolio when one asset is risk free asset. Okay, when more assets are added, the portfolio frontier improves. It moves upward left, higher mean return and lower risk is something like, I guess we have the picture, we'll see. when investors can hold when investors can hold also a risk-free asset, if is efficient frontier consists of risk-free asset and risky assets. So the idea is that when one can have the risky asset and risk-free asset, and the risk-free asset can have consist of several risk-free asset, and this is called the two fund separation. This is described here. The portfolio of risk-free and the risky asset can be viewed as a portfolio of two sub-portfolio, a sub-portfolio of only the risk-free asset and a sub-portfolio of only the risky assets. Okay, so you have two portfolio, one is portfolio consisting of the several risk-free assets, and the other portfolio, risky portfolio, have several risky assets. In the presence of risk-free asset, the portfolio frontier are combination of the risk-free asset and the tangent portfolio of risky asset only. Two fund separation, and this is called a two fund separation, the portfolio frontier with the risk free asset and the tangent portfolio. Okay, this is called the two fund separation. We have portfolio a risk free asset, that suppose we have here, and we have portfolio of several risky assets, something like this. Okay, when we construct the portfolio, the tangent line will goes through this. So the considering all these sub assets is the one is the risk free asset, and the tangent portfolio, the tangent portfolio is is constructed from the risky asset. The final portfolio is lies somewhere on the line, which we already seen, lies somewhere on the line. This is called the complete portfolio. Okay, so when the more assets are added, see the portfolio is moving something like upward left, means improves. When more assets are added, it improves, the portfolio frontier improves means the the return to risk ratio increases. Okay, okay, now we'll optimal complete portfolio. Just now I have briefly talk about the complete portfolio. The complete portfolio lies somewhere on the a straight line. Okay, so what we are doing here, let's sorry, what we are doing here is this. So this is the portfolio frontier, and we have one risky assets. The complete portfolio is a combination of this the risk-free portfolio and the tangent portfolio. Okay, and the complete portfolio lies somewhere here. So we'll construct this portfolio here. Construct a portfolio called a complete portfolio consisting the risk-free asset which has return RF, standard deviation or variance 0, and the weight 1 minus W. And the risky portfolio here is the tangent portfolio, is the expected return is the RP, standard deviation is the sigma P, and the weight W. The standard deviation of the portfolio, which portfolio? The complete portfolio is given as this. Just now we have seen, and its return of the complete portfolio is given by the return, that the expected return of the complete portfolio, that also we have seen. Yeah, W1 is equal to the 1 minus y, and W2 is the y. And you can simplify further, Ra plus y into this, and 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 here Rf plus y is equal to, just now we have calculated, this is the ratio, and this is called the capital allocation line. This is called the capital allocation line. This one is the capital allocation line, and this is the Sharpe ratio, sigma p, expected the excess return minus Rf divided by excess return per unit risk is the Sharpe ratio, and this is the slope of the capital allocation line. Okay. You can have capital allocation line in terms of weight, okay, or uh, in terms of sigma p, and this one generally in terms of sigma the by. Furthermore, you can write the capital allocation line, okay. This is the Sharpe ratio, which is the slope of the capital allocation line, okay. There is another term, utility score, and utility score is defined as U is equal to expected value of the return minus half a sigma square. A is the investor risk aversion coefficient. When you have higher return, higher utility score, you need it high, and when you have high variance, low utility score, you avoid it. Similarly, when you avoid the risk, you have the high A, and okay, that's the is formula says. To eliminate the to estimate the optimal asset allocation portfolio over risk free asset and the risky portfolio, will combine this formula, I mean put in this formula while constructing the optimal portfolio, to estimate the optimal asset allocation over the risk free asset and the risky asset. How much we are going to distribute asset on risk free asset and risky portfolio to construct the optimal portfolio. So we already have the expected return and expected variance. We have this formula. 1 minute. So we have finally this formula while substituting. Okay. And here you can, everything it is known, you can differentiate with respect to y and put 0 to get the optimal value. Okay, when you differentiate and put 0, you will get by a star is equal to this. This is the standard formula. The by is the asset allocated on the risky portfolio. But by of the complete portfolio invested in risky portfolio, and rest are on risk-free asset. At this optimal level, the optimal complete portfolio represents the point at which the indifference curve is tangent to the capital allocation line. Okay, we can construct the indifference curve. Okay, furthermore, if the risky portfolio in is the market portfolio, The risky portfolio is the one. Suppose we have constructed from lot many assets, and this is the market portfolio. Then this line is called capital market line. Okay, and okay, we'll escape this some theoretical stuff. Okay, important. Okay, the other one will complete the optimal risky portfolio. Optimal risky portfolio. Consider consider portfolio of two risky asset with the given level of investor risk aversion A. Okay, you have given two risky assets and the investor risk aversion coefficient is given. So similarly, we have this formula, standard formula, and we have a return on the portfolio. We have sum of weight equal to 1, and we have this utility function. So similarly, we'll put and differentiate with respect to W1. Okay, and we'll get this. This is the value for the W1, and similarly we can find W2. So here we are not constructing the complete portfolio, just we are constructing the risky portfolio, optimal risky portfolio. Okay, here we don't have the risk free asset. Okay, we are just constructing the complete the optimal risky portfolio. Okay, now furthermore, this is the something like what we have seen the optimal complete portfolio. Two fund separation we can further work on this. Okay, so let's have the two risky assets. Sorry, let's have two risky assets and one risk free asset. Okay, so from two risky assets you can compute optimal risky portfolio, and finally you can compute the or construct the optimal complete portfolio. This is the idea over here. The risk free asset is given. Okay, so first we'll construct the optimal risky portfolio. The optimal risky portfolio, the tangent line, the this is the one what we have, two assets and one asset is this. This is the given. The end goal is to find the complete portfolio, and the complete portfolio lies on this tangent line, and the tangent line will pass from here, and this is the optimal risky portfolio. So by doing so, while having all three assets and the equation, the Sharpe ratio and the slope of the capital allocation line is maximum. This is the optimal point. So from this formula, what we are trying to do is to maximize the Sharpe ratio. We'll compute the Sharpe ratio and differentiate it. We'll put first derivative 0. While doing so, you will get, this is a big chunk of formula. W1 and W2 is invested on two risky assets. When we have the optimal risky portfolio, we compute the optimal complete portfolio. How? The distribution between the distribution between risk-free asset, risk-free asset and the optimal risky portfolio is given by equal to this much, and y is the asset invested on optimal risky portfolio out of the given optimal complete portfolio. So by invested on, and similarly you can further derive it. So 1 minus y on the risk free asset from the perspective of the complete portfolio by invested on optimal risky portfolio, for the, and furthermore for the individual asset you can multiply it by multiply by into w1 by into w2. This is the distribution of the three asset to construct the optimal complete portfolio. Okay, you have asset 1, asset 2, then here is the complete portfolio, here is the risk free asset, and this is the risky portfolio. This one is the risky portfolio. Okay, so 1 minus y on the risk free asset by into w1. Okay, here by into w2, the distribution, and sum of all these is the one, that is the all three distribution is to construct the complete portfolio. And this we have already seen. The degree of risk aversion plays the role on capital allocation. Yeah, it depends upon the how the risk, the whether the how much the risk investor like or dislike. The selection of the desired point along the capital allocation line. So more risk averse investor, risk averse means dislike the risk more, will invest more in the risk free asset. Yeah, I am as an investor dislike risk more, will invest more on the risk free asset and less in the optimal risky portfolio. But whether investors are more or less risk averse, they will use optimal risky portfolio. This separation property technique determines that first determination of optimal risky portfolio. Optimal risky portfolio is the purely technique and is same for all investors, because here the investor risk coefficient A doesn't play any role while constructing the optimal risky portfolio. Okay, the second, the capital allocation depends on the personal preferences, because when we compute buy or 1 minus buy, where the A, the investor risk coefficient play the role, when A is high. A is high means disliking the risk more. A is high, then buy is low. You will these investors will put less on the risk risky portfolio, optimal risky portfolio. Okay, Okay, this is the end of the lecture. And you have any comment, suggestion, or any question about it, I shall be happy to help you. Thank you very much for watching my recording.